Hello and welcome back. Season 2, Episode 8, Ecuador Insider Podcast. Jesse Bayer joined by Carl Marsan and Milton Mena. Oh, Milton Mena if we're talking in Spanish. Milton is a great friend, business partner. He's an architect, builder, local. He certainly speaks English, but English is his second language, so we may clarify some things from time to time in Spanish just to make sure that everything is clear. But we wanted to get a local perspective today on politics, on the election, on what the election means for Ecuador going forward. So that's what we're here to talk about today. Thank you guys, as always, for joining. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Give us a share, a thumbs up, hit the bell, all that good stuff. We really try to pump out a lot of content, keeping you up to date on all things Ecuador. It's hot. We're going to be squinting. We're sitting in the sun. We're a little low tech here still, so doing the best we can. Excuse us if we sweat through our shirts and and all that good stuff. So again, thanks for joining us today. So before we get started on the main subject, I think, let's do a 2-minute history lesson here, and I may not have all this exactly perfect, but I'll do the best I can. Milton will jump in and correct me, anything that's wrong. So Ecuador had a collapse of their currency, the sucre, in 1999-2000, and then they dollarized in 2000. So Ecuador has been on the dollar since 2000, and prior to Rafael Correa taking power in 2007, they had an enormous amount of political instability. So I don't remember, Milton, it was like 9 presidents in 7 years or something like that. Do you know the exact number?
No, probably was like 6 or 7, yeah.
6 or 7 presidents in a short period of time, less than a decade.
It started, I think, in 1996, yeah.
Yeah. And that was like revolutions, basically. They were pretty low-key revolutions. Basically, people would march on Quito and not leave until the president vacated the office. Yeah. So they ran through a whole bunch of presidents in those years, and then Rafael Correa came to power in 2007. He was appointed. He then served 07-08 in an appointed capacity, and then was elected in 2008 to his first term. That was 4 years, went to 2012, and then he was reelected from 2012 to 2016. So he brought great stability politically. So we had Ecuador dollarized in 2000, so that brought monetary stability. Then once Correa came in 2007, that brought political stability. And Correa was wildly popular for at least, I'd say, 6 to 8 years of his time. So he was doing massive infrastructure spending, roads and internet and water and electricity and ports and airports, and really bringing the country into the 21st century. He had a lot of social policies that were popular. He was very popular, very charismatic leader, and he's from the very far left. So he's, you can easily consider him socialist. I think he calls himself socialist even. Yeah. So he was a socialist. Starting somewhere around, I would say, and again, Milton can jump in here if he wants, but I would say somewhere around 2012, 13. He started to lose popularity, and then his last 2 or 3 years, he was wildly unpopular. I saw polling numbers in the last year or two of his presidency. I saw one at 9%, approval rating, single-digit approval rating. He got very unpopular, and really his policies got kind of crazy at the end. He scared a lot of people. He started making proposals for absolutely exorbitant taxes on real estate, on inheritance. He made cars. I mean, he restricted the country basically in every way. So the economy became very restricted, very centrally planned. The government was involved in everything. Taxes were very high, and people weren't happy with that. So then we had an election in 2016, and Rafael Correa's former VP, Lenin Moreno, was elected in 2016. I think he's actually done an okay job, but he's pretty unpopular. I don't know why. Maybe Milton can expand on it, but he's fairly unpopular, and he did not run again in 2020. 2016 to 2020 were okay years in Ecuador economically, certainly better than the last 2 or 3 years of Correa. But he, again, very unpopular, and he split with Correa. So Moreno has not continued on Correa's policies really at all. They had, if you believe the story, they had a big falling out and they don't like each other, and people, so-called Correistas, people who subscribe to Rafael Correa's beliefs and edict, are very much against Lenin Moreno. So we just had an election now. That brings us up to current date. We just had an election in April in this month, and it was really a surprise, and we'll get into that in a second. But Guillermo Lasso was elected. He's run 3 times for president?
Mm-hmm. 3 times, yeah.
He's run 3 times. This was his third?
Third.
Yeah. So this is his 3rd time running. He ran against Moreno in 2016.
It was very tight with Moreno, the election. A lot of people still think that that was a not fair election.
A fraudulent election, yeah.
Yeah.
So he actually won this time. It was a big surprise, and we'll get into that in a second. He's definitely from the right, so he's and the right-left thing in Latin America is definitely different than like what I'm used to. I hesitate to even use that terminology. It's kind of, I don't even know what it means these days anymore. But he's considered from the right. He's a businessman, banker. And that's one of the reasons a lot of people haven't liked him over the years, and and he hasn't won other elections, even if he did win in 16 and it was stolen, who knows. But so he is now, he's not sworn in yet, but he'll take office in May, towards the end of May. And we're here to talk about what that means from Ecuador and what his policies will be going forward. So that's sort of a little bit of the history. So yeah, jumping right into it, Milton. This was a surprise. I mean, what did you think when Lasso actually won?
Well, I always thought that he was going to lose the election because he's not your favorite guy to vote for. He doesn't have this. He's not close too much to people, and he doesn't speak. He's not very popular. So when he speaks, you feel that it's not the guy. But Arauz neither, because he was awful too. I think that probably if Correa were here, probably he could won the election. But the last 2 weeks were this final race, and it was kind of crazy because some people given the exit polls.
Mm-hmm. Exit polls.
Yeah, it give Arauz the that he was going to win.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me just interrupt you. Not exit polls. The polling leading up to the election. Continue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and at the last week, they 1 or 2 probably from the 10 told that Guillermo Lasso was increasing, but I didn't believe it. I vote for Guillermo Lasso because I wanted to change this line of government. So yeah, it was a big surprise. I don't believe it now.
Yeah. Yeah, so and also just to give a little more of the history, so the Andres Arauz, who was the opposition, he was handpicked by Correa.
Yeah.
Correa formed a new party, which Arauz was the head of, or the presidential candidate for. So that would have been, had he been elected, that would have been a continuation of going back 4 years, a continuation of the Correa presidency. So it was really looked at as somewhat of a referendum on that. So people, I think, really rejected that because, again, Lasso's not very popular. So
I think it was the reject about Correa. Yeah, that's why he won, because Arauz is the political son of Correa. It's kind of both. Even he said that because Correa now has some juicios,
lawsuits.
Yeah, lawsuits against him, and he's out of the country, and if he came here, he probably will be in jail. So
there's warrants out for him, and Correa is essentially looked at by the government as a criminal at this point. For all the fraud that went on and stealing of money and these sorts of things.
Yeah, there is a lot of research about what they did in the past. So I don't know how it's going to end up this with the new president. Also, Korea asked him in a Twitter to stop looking out like for political like there is a name in English I don't remember, but I'm going to research it. That yeah, to stop this. He's always saying that it's like the persecution.
Yeah, persecution.
Like a
That's the
witch
word.
hunt or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, it's
Korea is persecuted.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Poor guy.
He's yeah, he feels like that. So yeah, I think a lot of people vote against that model that because there is a lot of things going on about this money that they don't know.
It disappeared.
It disappeared.
I'm just to give you guys a quick example of that. So, and again, correct me anything I screw up here, but
Okay.
there was an oil refinery that the government was supposed to build up in the north on the coast that they put I don't know how many hundreds of millions of dollars into and never built a thing. This was a big scandal. It came out. You know, these are the kinds of things that happened under Correa. Not to say that it doesn't happen under other presidents as well, but you know, it's sort of a funny thing in Ecuador. It's like a president comes in, steals lots of money, you know, is popular, unpopular, whatever, and then later ends up, you know, sought after on charges, or ends up in jail, or ends up they leave the country a lot of the time. Like,
yeah, it's because all this corruption atmosphere that we have around the politics here. Yeah, the corruption, it's a very nasty stuff, but it is in the Ecuadorian history. Yeah, all the politics. Well, I think like all the politics that comes after the president for a president or even for the cities, for a mayor of the city. They all want to money, so I think it's kind of impossible that they say every government that jumps in, they say always that they are going to
And corruption.
end corruption.
Right,
But
right.
It's I don't know. It's very very hard. I think.
I think you guys would all agree corruption is worldwide. You know, it's just here. It's maybe they don't hide it as well as maybe other Western countries.
I agree. Yeah, no, I agree. It's much more visible.
More visible.
And it does come out, you know, which is cool, I guess. You know, it comes out later, but it's like it does come out. People don't like it, but it's very much par for the course. And that sort of gets into cultural stuff. I don't want to dive into that too much, but you know, it's definitely like in the States where I'm from, it's like people very much think if you want to make money, you go out and make it happen, right? You start a business, you do this, you do that. A lot of people here don't think that way. Like a lot of people here, it's like if you want to make money, you get a good job in government, or you get a government job, or you become a politician, or
You become a politician. Yeah.
right.
It's like to be a emprendedor, right?
Like a businessman. Yeah.
That's it.
It's a business.
Yeah. What should I do for life and have money? That's one of the things is going for a political career.
Yeah. So, good.
I was gonna say, I mean, it's kind of interesting, and comparing it to Trump, Lasso is a very wealthy, self-made, wealthy entrepreneur, which makes you think that he's not in it for the money. That's how I felt as well about Trump in the United States. You know, when you already have a good business and you make a lot of money, you don't need to become a politician. So he does seem to have good intentions in that way of like, I don't know.
Yeah, he even give up his
Salary.
salary. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Right. He's not going to take, his presidential salary. He's very wealthy. He's somebody who was the former, I guess, president or something of Banco de Guayaquil. Is that correct? Or,
Yeah. No, he has a lot of money. Yep.
So this is, again, this is a big split from Correísmo, right? And Correísmo was very aligned with like Chavez in Venezuela, or now Maduro in Venezuela, and that's part of the last. When Rafael Correa became very unpopular in his last 2 or 3, 4 years, That's really why he was aligning with the policies of Venezuela and scaring people tremendously. And so this is really a split for that. I don't know. Maybe it's the nail in the coffin on Correísmo in Ecuador. I don't know. We'll see.
I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah,
we'll see.
But it seems like a big point of divergence here, because had Arauz gotten elected, and he was wildly popular in Manabí province, for example, on the coast. He did well in Esmeraldas. He did okay in Guayas. So the coast more or less backed Arauz. The rest of the country did not. The Orient, which is the Amazonian region, I was looking at all the provinces. I mean, some of them were 80% for Lasso or more. I saw 83%, 86% in some of these provinces, 77, 79%. The Sierra, where we are, the mountains, basically, Quito, south. We're in the south here in Loja.
60 to 40.
Yeah, right. Like a 60-40 split. I've seen, 58, 65, depending on, those provinces. But in general, went for Lasso. So we have a split from Correísmo, and that also means we have a president now who's much more aligned politically and ideologically with the West. So it may be a bit of a return to friendly relations and, trade and trade deals and agreements, and even military potentially agreements and things like that with the U.S. and with more Western powers, as opposed to Correa, who got rid of the military base that was, and again, I'm not giving my opinion on any of this stuff. Like, some of this is good, some of it's bad. These guys are all politicians. Like, I personally also voted for Lasso, not because I really like him or think he's a great guy or think that he's fantastic, but because the alternative to me was, an absolute disaster. And I didn't want that. But so yeah, we may be looking at a return here to sort of the pre-Correa policies as it relates to the West and the United States. And that could have a lot of effects. So that could create trade deals. It could, there's lots of effects. I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
Well, I think more is going to be like the trade deals. Yeah, because now Korea did trade deals with the EU and China. China, like, you have a lot of Chinese products here, like cars and everything that are cheaper. So these trade deals are going to open for the U.S. I'm sure of that. Yeah.
And that's just real quick before you go, Carl. That's what I forgot to mention when I was prefacing. Correa was much more aligned with China politically. So he was not taking money from Western powers. He was taking money from China. China was giving very high interest loans to Ecuador, backed by their natural resources. Again, a trade deal with China. It was very friendly relations there. He used to go to Venezuela and have press conferences with Chavez, and that was where he was at ideologically. And now we've kind of swung the other way there. Okay, so, and one of the reactions internationally was interesting. I saw a chart, and I didn't really read the article, but I read the headline where Ecuador's debt, right, the bonds in Ecuador, immediately jumped like 30 or 40 points in value after the election, like as the results were coming in on the election. And it was actually what did he win by, 6 points? Lasso, something like that.
6.
Yeah, I mean, it was it wasn't 6, so close.
7, yeah.
And it was really surprising because there was 4 serious candidates: Arauz, Lasso, what's the guy? Yacu Perez. But what's the other guy?
Herbas.
Yeah, Herbas. Yeah. So
I like Herbas.
Yeah, I liked him as well. I voted for him in the first round, mostly because you told me about him. But so there was 4 serious candidates, and if no one gets to 40% of the total vote, you have a runoff. So basically, the guy who lost, Arauz, he got the most votes by far. He had like 32 or 33% of the vote. And then Herbas, Lasso, and Yacu were all within like 3 points of each other. It was like Herbas was around 16%, and then Yacu Perez and Guillermo Lasso were both at like right around 19. And it was very controversial because Yacu Perez voters felt like the election had been stolen, so they were very resentful. Herbas voters probably just would go for Lasso regardless for the most part. But there was a whole big block of Yacu Perez voters that you didn't really know who they were going to vote for. he was an indigenous candidate, and he had huge support amongst the indigenous community in Ecuador. And
they are about the 8% of the population, the indigenous.
8%.
Yeah,
Okay.
8%.
Okay. So yeah, again, the polling was showing Arauz winning, and then the night of the election, it just all broke for Lasso. So it seems like a lot of those Yaku Perez voters, probably nearly all of the Airbus voters, ended up going for Lasso, because I mean, Arauz only increased from 33% in the first election, where there's
Just
like
10,
12
yeah.
candidates.
10 points.
About
Just
10 points, right?
yeah.
So he picked
Nothing,
up almost
yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
So the night of the election, the value of bonds in Ecuador is the chart goes like this. As the international community said, okay, now we have a banker, a businessman who's made promises. Yes, Ecuador will pay its debt, and I think that also signals to the investor community as well. Internationally, that Ecuador is kind of open for business. I think this is really, to me, one of the main takeaways.
And that's the way that Ecuador has to go, because we have the dollar. If we don't have this business with the world, we are not open to dollars coming in the Ecuadorian economy. So that for me, it's like the top thing, because I voted for Lasso, because I want to be open to business to the world. Otherwise, we are not having dollars. All the dollars are going to go away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think? I mean, let's talk a little bit about that, right? So, what do you guys think his policies mean for Ecuador now? Also, just to mention real quick, Congress is not necessarily behind him. So, it's his party, I don't know, or maybe third or fourth in Congress, something like that. His party, I think the number one party in Congress is Arauz's party, if I'm not mistaken. And then...
Well, the Congress is very interesting. That's why Yaku Perez said that he had a fraud, because he has, I think, well, I'm not going to be exactly in the numbers, but he has, I think, the 30% of the Congress. This guy Herbas, probably they have some about 20. This guy Arauz, yeah, he has 30, and I think Lasso has 20. Herbas, he is aligned with Lasso, so that will have 40, and probably Yaku Perez is like, sometimes I'm in and sometimes I'm out. So I think he's going to be the
swing vote.
The swing vote.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that it's going to be very tough to run the country with that kind of government.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's crazy what's going to happen with all this manage of things in Ecuador.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see how can do it, because like you were you told that probably it's the end of Correísmo, but I don't know. It's the things in the country are not that great. So you have a government that is not going to support you like 100%, which is okay. And the other thing, you have this country that owns a lot of dollars to China and everything. So a lot of how to say debt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's going to be hard. As Guillermo Lasso is a businessman, probably he can manage things very well. So let's see if he of his skills of business
Translate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So right. So that's the point there. Part of that point, right, is like we don't know how much of his policies he'll be successful implementing because the Congress is so split. So that's to be determined. But based on his ideas, what do you guys see as the effect on Ecuador going forward?
Well, like my friends, the one that are into business, the one that are entrepreneurs, the one that works not for the government, all wanted to win Lasso. We need to change that like persecution to the guys that works, because all these taxes that were around us, it was hard. So for business, I think that's very, very healthy to change this politics.
Mm-hmm.
And just to give you some history there, like Rafael Correa used to make fiery speeches all the time, just lampooning business. Like he hated business. Like he would give speeches just literally saying like these are the business is this and they're that, and I mean it was incredible. I mean it was so a split from that is
Yeah, and it's a turning point because like Korea, like yeah, I think he was against to the people that do business, he tried to make the people think that the businessman is the bad man. If you do business, probably you are stealing money to the workers, and you are stealing money to the buyers, and that's the figure that Korea give us as entrepreneurs or businessmen. So yeah, and that's why a lot of people hate Lasso, because he is a businessman. So a lot of people think that. So but the people that we don't work for the government, that we make like every day we wake up and
private sector,
and we try to work as hard as we can. We give the stability of the country. So yeah,
sure. Seems like that should be pretty common sense, but
yeah, it was a fight here in Ecuador, believe it or not. Yeah.
And just to add a little bit about that sort of class divide and that sort of stuff in Ecuador. So Arauz was a very, don't call me racist or something, all right? I'm just going to talk here. Arauz was a very Ecuadorian-looking Ecuadorian, right? So he looked like the majority of Ecuadorians, like very, very similar, right? He was the right height, the right color, the right hair, the right weight. I mean, he looked like you're almost stereotypical or prototypical.
Well, I didn't think about that. Yeah, and you are very right. And probably he was picked because of that. Because I don't know why he was picked. A lot of people think that he was very dummy in some things that he speak.
Yeah, he sounds ridiculous sometimes when he talks.
Yeah. And they say that he didn't go to some candidate debate. Yeah. Because of that, probably they say, okay, you don't have to speak too much, you just have to show your face.
Right. Just smile and say Correa. So you had him, and then you had Lasso, who's very European looking. He's not your stereotypical Ecuadorian as far as the way he looks. He's very white. He's got the European hair. He's tall. He looks like he's out of a business magazine. Like he looks like a banker. Like he wears
a banker look. Yeah.
And Ecuador is a very like class conscious culture, right? It's a culture where looking at the history of the country, it was like there was a handful of landowners in the whole country going back to Spain and even after Spain, and you couldn't really get ahead unless you had pure blood or you had the right title or you married the right person. A lot of the workers were essentially slaves for many years, where it's like if somebody sold a property, the workers kind of went with it, right? They'd been there many generations, basically working just to be provided for. So there's that sort of history that's there, where there's some animosity towards the upper classes and the families that have the famous last names, and where maybe like the landowners in the past and things like that. So it was a surprise to me that like so many people from the lower middle classes, from the lower classes, to use that ridiculous terminology, were able to vote for a banker, for a European looking banker.
For a businessman, yeah. Well, probably they did that because the work has gone down, right?
Uh-huh.
And probably they think about that this guy, like, for example, I'm in the construction business, so probably they were thinking, hey, the guy didn't call me, I need him to do better, so he gives me a job, So yeah, probably it's because of that, of the economy. It's not very sustainable to all work for the government.
Mm-hmm.
No, they've tried that before.
Yeah, and that was definitely one thing that Guillermo Lasso was promoting in his campaign, was to create more employment by reducing taxes, by improving the business sector, making it more business friendly, and creating more jobs. Which it was the opposite with Correa and Lenin Moreno and the left. They were more focused on like taxing the rich to give to the poor. So because of this class system, the poor, quote unquote, Ecuadorians always thought that the rich needed to, give them part of what they had, right? So I was surprised actually talking to a lot of local Ecuadorians how that was basically the narrative they were telling me. They're like, no, there are too many rich people here, and they're paying us they're not paying us enough, so we got to tax them and we got to get some money from them and give to the poor, which creating more employment to me makes more sense.
Yeah, so Korea was like the Robin Hood.
Robin Hood.
Right. Steal from the rich, give to himself, I think.
Given to his people.
Right.
Yeah, no, like the new, well, we call them the new rich guys, because
New rich, yeah.
there are a lot of people that make themselves rich during this period. Well, it's not because Korea, it's in every period that the government changed hands of wealthy people, because the corruption that we have here in the country. And I the one thing that I didn't like about Korea was about that he wanted all the people, like all the country, work for the government. He did a lot of government industries, government. He opened a lot of ministerios.
Yeah, ministries.
Ministries.
Yeah. Branches of government. Yeah.
So
agencies. Ministries.
Yeah, a lot of people work, and well, now they have a lower, I think, lower employees in the government, because that's not sustainable. Ecuador pays a lot to the people that is working for the government
workers, yeah.
Government workers. And I think most of the vote that Korea used to have was because of those government workers
protecting their jobs.
Protecting their jobs. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I read a statistic. This is going back to like probably 2015 thereabouts, where GDP of Ecuador had hit the public sector accounted for over 40%. Of GDP, which is just unsustainable. I mean, you can't run a country that way. So yeah, I mean, I'll give my thoughts here for a second as far as what Lasso's election means. Now, again, could Lasso be a crook and a scumbag and rob and do terrible things? Absolutely. Like, I have no idea. I don't know him. I don't I have no idea how this is going to go.
Or if he is not, probably his people.
And that's, so I don't know how this is going to go. But as far as his views of the world and as far as the press that Ecuador will get, and then a lot of his policies, and some of them absolutely will be implemented for sure. We should have significantly lower taxes going forward. We should have trade deals going forward, which will allow for much more importation, will lower consumer prices. Right now, a used vehicle in Ecuador is absurdly expensive. Really anything that's imported is absurdly expensive, which creates problems. It's hard. I have a Nissan right now that is in the shop. I need parts for it. There's none of them are local. I'm looking for them in Guayaquil. There might be even a couple of things I have to import from the States. This is because they've put in so many restrictions on the economy, on importation and things like that. So a lot of that should be going away. How successful he'll be in implementing all those things, I don't know. He's said that he wants to get rid of the exit tax. So right now there's a 5% exit tax for money leaving the country. He wants to do away with that. That would be huge for capital coming into Ecuador, which again is good for everybody, right? When businesses get going, we've got employment, we've got money velocity, and life is good. When you suppress and control everything, everyone needs welfare because nothing, there's no job. So I think we're given what Ecuador has already, right? It has a stable economy, it has stable politics, it has some of the best weather on the planet, it's safe, the culture's amazing. It has some of the most, it's one of the most natural resource rich countries on the planet. I mean, oil and gold and copper, you name it. It has absolutely everything. It has the rainforest, it has the coast, there's no winter.
Shrimp. It's everything.
Right. All kinds of agriculture. So given what it already has, if you add into that some freedom in the economy, some ability to invest and to do business without having to jump through 10,000 hoops to get permissions and things like that, if that gets a little easier, I think we're in for an absolute boom here for the next number of years. Now, how that'll play out, how long that lasts, who knows? But I think we've already had some decent years here recently, as far as not necessarily the economy, but at least as far as international investment and that sort of stuff. It's been trending in the right direction the last 3 years, tepidly. We could see a flood now. We could see a real boom. Lasso has announced low interest loans for business people. He's announced, and he's also announced a lot of things that the left like. So, healthcare, education,
free education. We hope for that because, Ecuador has been sleeping about this
foreign investment,
and there is we have found huge potentials in that. So there is a plenty of good deals to do here, and I think the investment people are looking now. I think they are looking to all these opportunities that we have here in the country, because in the last years it have been kind of hard to have this international investment coming in the country.
And again, thanks to Rafael Correa, in part, we have great infrastructure now as well. So it's like the infrastructure is in place.
It's done.
Yeah, it's done. The infrastructure is in place for that capital to come and do and work and function. Without it, a lot of that is just impossible. Just to give you an example of that, and you correct me on the numbers, but maybe 10, 15 years ago, it took like 7 or 8 or 10 hours or something to drive from Loja to Cuenca because it was, a dirt road. Is that
now,
in the ballpark?
Well, now we do 3 hours. In the last, now when the road was bad, probably 4.5, something like that. Well, but it's 30% of time, so it's good.
Sure.
Yeah. And it was nasty to go to Cuenca because the road were, you need a
four-wheel drive. You need, right? It was unpaved, like these.
Because of the rain that we have in the country, it was very bad to go there.
Right. Sorry. So now we have highways, throughout the country. And the infrastructure in Ecuador is great. So it should be an interesting time here. Economically, I think the community. I think both locally, because that's the other thing too, right? I noticed a lot under Correa's presidency, and it continued for Moreno, Ecuadorians a lot of times are afraid to invest in their own country. Like there's a lot of capital in Ecuador. It's not like Ecuador is this crazy poor country, not at all. Like a lot of people have a lot of money here, but a lot of times they're afraid to invest it. A lot of Ecuadorians. So I've been here since 2013. So I got here like right at the end of the boom. And then into some really bad years. So 14 was like, and then 15, 16 were really bad. And then things started to improve after that once Correa left office. But during those final years of Correa, a lot of people had a lot of fear about the direction of the country, the politics. Were we going to end up like Venezuela? And a lot of Ecuadorians have expressed to me, given me advice on business and explain things. And a lot of them, they keep their money elsewhere. They keep their money in the U.S. They're afraid to invest in Ecuador a lot of times. And they have very short time horizons. Like if they're going to get into investments, a lot of times they want it to be short term because they don't know, what's coming next politically. So I think this is a very positive, development for that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, a lot of people has been afraid, but the other people that has not been afraid have made a lot of money during this period.
Absolutely. That's a great point. Yeah, that's a great point, actually.
Yeah, so...
I missed opportunities as a result of listening to people. Fear. Yeah, fear. Yeah, it's fear. We really appreciate you guys tuning in. Again, Season 2, Episode 8, I believe, of the Ecuador Insider Podcast. Thank you, Milton, so much for coming today. We're actually opening a little office in Loja with Milton. We had closed the office in June of last year because of all the craziness going on. We're just actually opening another little office in Loja, so we will have a Loja office now here at Abundant Living. We work with Milton quite a bit on construction and architecture and construction related matters. He's a great guy to contact. I'll throw his contact info in the description, or you can get a hold of us and we'll put you in touch with him. So yeah, thank you guys, for being here. If you like the video, please give us a like, subscribe, ring the bell, do all that good stuff, help support the channel, help us get the message out, and have a lovely rest of your day.